Well, thank you guys for coming. What an awesome environment to be in with our students, and GCU Nation showing up. So proud of our guys. Really fought for 40 minutes. That's obviously a really, really good team. Special day for our program, for our school to get a ranked team, into our building.
Evans, obviously he changed the game with his defense. Can you talk about his shot blocking and
Yeah, he's been working really hard, coming in for extra work, working hard at practice. Hasn't really got extended minutes, since our 2 exhibition games where he got some minutes, and really proud of him. Some players might not work as hard, kind of go in the tank and not be ready when their opportunity comes, and he was just sensational with his rim protection, and then his ability to impact shots. If he didn't block it, just his presence down there.
It seemed like they wore down at the end too. They were short on shots, and I think because they couldn't find anything inside, they were trying to hit those 3-pointers and they were coming up short.
Yeah, just his presence. He's so big and so long, and he's done a great job at working hard, and he's getting off the ground quicker. His timing's getting better and better, and he showed a lot of that tonight.
What's that say about your team bouncing back from that New Mexico State?
Yeah, it's a tough league. If you look behind, it's going to be hard to move forward, and if you look too far ahead, it's going to be hard to be in the present. And so the league is so good and so competitive. Every game is physical, and there's such a fine line. It's between winning and losing, and so we moved on very quickly from that game and locked into this game. And so we need to do the same, moving forward for our game on Wednesday, and after that for our game on Saturday. It's just a perpetual thing in this league. You better get ready for your next one.
20 points for Brian, but 36 minutes chasing the guards around on the perimeter. Can you talk about his effort and your guys' effort in general on the perimeter against those guards?
Yeah, I kept checking when he came to the bench, or I checked sometimes when he came. I played him like 8 straight minutes, and I was like, was he tired? Is he breathing hard? Is he sweating really hard? And he seemed to be good most of the time. We gave him a little break, and he went back and was fine. But credit him for his conditioning, and yeah, just did a sensational job. Collins is such a terrific player. Thankfully he missed some of those shots, but credit Brian for trying to be there as tight and as close as he could most of the game.
And Nana as well on that defensive end. Feels like he's just Templin struggled, Clark struggled. Feels like he's kind of swallowing everything up.
And I loved his ability to get to loose balls. Obviously 11 rebounds, but he had 4 steals. He was diving on the floor out of his area to get balls, and just brought us a lot of toughness and competitiveness.
What is it about this program that it plays so well against ranked opponents?
Well, we don't get the opportunity very often, especially in our own building. So it's definitely a blessing to even have the opportunity. And our guys, really, obviously we're excited to play on national TV against a ranked team, and I think also they were upset about our last game too. I mean, anytime you come off a loss, you're a little bit more motivated. So there were a lot of factors that went in, I think, to help our guys have extra motivation for this game.
How does that help recruiting at early afternoon game, national TV, FS1? I mean.
Yeah, it's a big jump, coming into the league, that we're coming into with a lot of good teams, and it's a daily grind, and we're learning, as we're going through it, learning things that, maybe we would change in the off season or approach, and I think our guys are also, learning. Besides Jaden, this is everyone's first time in the Mountain West, in this league, and so I thought guys really raised their physicality level, their intensity level. And again, we didn't have any lulls in the 40 minutes, and that was a big key tonight.
Coach, I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of thought this was going to be a rock fight. If I told you a week ago, hey, you got to score 84 to beat Utah State, how do you feel going into that, going into practice?
Yeah, we thought, obviously if it was more in the mid 70s or high 60s would be better, for us, but 84 is a lot against, they're a really good defensive team. Again, thankfully they missed some shots there, missed shots, and then our guys did a really good job. But Brian and Makai made just some really good individual one-on-one moves that they really finished and made really good decisions on.
After they went up 2-0, you guys led the rest of the way. There were so many mini runs made by Utah State, but your guys answered every single time. You talk about the resolve of the group and how can.
Yeah, I think that was really key. I know they cut it to 2 in the second half, and I think it was Brian that made a drive, and he got fouled and made 2 free throws to get it back to 4. And our guys did a great job, like you said, when the adversity came, they were able to respond and get a couple baskets and stops that allowed us to keep the lead.
Bryce, Mackay said he's never experienced a court storming before. Just what does it mean to you just to have these guys experience that? It almost felt like an NCAA tournament, like, atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm happy for the guys and for our students. Like, I just told the radio upstairs, when you get wins like this, it's not just about the program or the players, it's about the whole school, it's about all the fans, everyone that invests into GCU, from an emotional standpoint. And so for our players to experience that, this is something they'll remember, 20 years from now. They'll be telling their kids or showing a highlight film, of their kids of what they did in college.
Was that maybe Brian Moore's best game for you guys?
He's had some really good games that he's controlled tempo, that he's helped us win. This was definitely his highest scoring game, in playing 36 minutes. But, he's helped us in big games. At Utah, he was really good. At Boise, started us out really good. I loved his patience and his poise. He didn't force it. He didn't force drives. He didn't force shots. He let it come to him, and then when it was there, he made really good reads and plays.
You talked about the up and down of the league. I hate even thinking about turning the page after today, but you got a really good team coming in Wednesday.
Yeah.
Talk about this group and how, yes, you got to celebrate this, but then the work that's going to be required to keep this going forward.
Well, we definitely got the games Wednesday to give us, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to get ready. This was an emotional game. It was a physical game. I'm glad it was in the afternoon. Gives us, all evening to kind of recover and rest. And then, like I said, it starts all over. We got to get back and prep and get emotionally and physically and mentally ready.
Coming from coaching in the SEC, I'm sure you've seen plenty of guys that have the talent that Falslove has. How do you kind of prepare for something like that? I mean, he still had 25 points, but
Yeah.
how do you kind of get the guys ready for a guy that can just kind of open the bottle?
Yeah, he's a tough shot maker, and so he does it inside and then outside, and so it's hard to stop guys like that. I think you just try to contest and make it as hard as possible, for them. Thankfully, he missed some shots. I think Dennis was a big part. He helped our whole defense, a lot when he was in. But he and Collins are obviously terrific players, and sometimes you just, it might be them just missing and not be something that you're taking away.
Utah State, they're pretty aggressive in the way they play, take a lot of risks, and it seemed like you guys really were adamant on kind of punching them back when they tried to take some of those risks. Can you talk about, was that something you saw in your team's execution on that?
That was just players making good decisions. Brian Mackay, Jaden, Caleb, Dusty. I thought Nana was great with the ball, tonight. When they had an opportunity, they took it, but I thought they were really patient. When they didn't, they brought it back out and kind of let us spread it out, and some guys touched the ball. And so I thought our patience was really good with the ball.
Good job.
We're good.